Are you the Arlen Glass? The toy designer?
I am. Where did you hear that?
Did you have a daughter?
Marlene. She died in the war. In the end, I never even got to say goodbye.
I think I have something that belongs to you.
Holotape? Let's see now.
Go ahead. Hi, Daddy. When are you coming home?
Oh, God. Marlene.
You work too much.
Have you noticed that Bethesda keeps telling everyone that they don't plan on making any Fallout games outside the United States?
Look, my view is part of the Fallout shtick is on the Americana naivete, and part of that.
I mean, who wouldn't want a game in the UK or really anywhere in Asia, right? Well, I think the answer's blatantly clear. Fallout is about the United States. It's no longer a post-nuclear role-playing game. Under Bethesda, it serves to comment on the very things that we, as Americans, try not to think about. Let's take an example. I don't know whether you believe in this or not, but apocryphally, there are many doctors and nurses who insist that some version of the following is true. That people on their deathbeds all say that they wish they'd spent less time working and more time with their family and friends. Despite this apparently universal truth, the best fictional commentary on this sentiment goes all the way back to A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Or, I guess there are more recent examples if you like watching the Hallmark Channel.
Oh my gosh, it is so great to be back in my quaint hometown. It is a welcome break from my high-paying New York City job that has left me a little cold and materialistic. Hold on, I need to circle back.
All jokes aside, for me, a young father at the start of his career, nothing speaks more powerfully than the idea that I might one day regret not being around to watch my children or my loved ones grow up. And that when I figure this out, it'll be too late to make any difference. Now, let's get back to Fallout. As Americans, we hold it as a tenet of our culture that we should work hard. A good man and a hard-working man are often seen as synonymous. And this despite knowing that most people live to regret the hours they spent at the office. What better place to discuss an aspect of American culture than an American game, like Fallout? Here we find a story reminiscent of A Christmas Carol. And just like the old English novella, we find a character who prides himself in his work, even as it comes at the expense of the relationships he has with others.
Hey, listen, did you ever have something you really cared about? Something that made your life worth living? For me, it's toys, like this one here. It's a genuine Giddyup Buttercup, the 2076 special edition. Best toy on the market before the war. It's a shame, though. I don't have all the parts to get this old girl working again. Don't suppose you happen to have a spare crate of toy parts on you?
Here again, just like in Dickens' story, the main character is allowed to see the results of his work after his time. And just like Scrooge, he comes to deeply regret his decisions. Yet, unlike A Christmas Carol, he's too late to take it all back. He is forced to live with the weight of his own decisions. When we meet Arlen Glass, he is still working on his life's work. Even here, in a world without clean water or reliable shelter, he is sitting in a shed building a toy horse. See, Arlen was the creative half to a business partnership that would become Wilson Automatoys, while George Wilson handled the business side of the company. Arlen was allowed to focus excessively on what he loved, making toys for children. At some point, both of them started their own families. But while George Wilson felt guilty for missing birthdays and piano recitals, Arlen had a strange notion about how best to help children. He says as much when he one day would yell at the new president of Wilson Automatoys.
Mark, do you know why toys are important? They help children dream. They let them imagine a better future beyond this blasted war. They give them hope.
It's important to note that this is one of those ideas that sounds good in theory, but can quickly take over your life. And at least here in America, we like to get it twisted. Arlen is a perfect example. What good were his toys to other children when his own daughter was sitting at home, missing her father? But that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. Anyone familiar with Fallout lore will know that the years leading up to the war were filled with economic strife. As a result, George and Arlen were compelled to spend even more hours at work, missing birthdays, anniversaries, and other important milestones in the development of their own children. Perhaps out of guilt for missing the best years of his son's life, George Wilson would hand over his position as president of the company he and Arlen had built from nothing over to his son, Mark Wilson. This spelled trouble for Arlen. Having already damaged the relationships he had with his own wife and daughter, he saw this new president as a threat to the only thing he'd ever really loved, the Giddyup Buttercup. The thing that made his life worth living, in his own words. The new president, Mark, felt that the best way to make money for the company during these economic problems was to shift production from toys for children to landmines for the US Army. But for Arlen, if work wasn't about the toys, then why had he sacrificed everything else for his work? Was he about to just allow all the sacrifices he'd made be for nothing? Well, not without a fight. He tried to use his position as co-founder to sway others to think of the children. First, he sent a holotape to Mark that came to be called Arlen's Manifesto.
Mark, do you know why toys are important? They help children dream. They let them imagine a better future beyond this blasted war. They give them hope. 30 years ago, I met a man who understood that. Your father and I built Wilson Automatoys on that hope. He poured his life into that hope. And now, you've thrown it all away, sold it in search of a quick profit. It's still not too late. If you won't do it for me, for your father, for the company, then please do it for the children.
Unfortunately for Arlen, his pleas fell on deaf ears. We can read Mark's journals and logs from the time, and we know that he had connections with the US government, connections that promised lots of money and even more future connections. This was his chance to cement the future of Wilson Automatoys onto something with a firm foundation. And what could have a more firm foundation than the United States of America? Arlen responded to this lack of response by calling Mark out in front of the board. And after he spoke out against Mark, Mark fired him and banned him from the premises. After all, this was Wilson Automatoys, and Mark Wilson didn't have to listen to anyone, even the co-founder of his own company. What Arlen felt in these moments can only be speculated at. We know from his own admission and from his logs that he kept returning to try and convince Mark to either take him back or change his mind. But in the end, all that matters is that Arlen was once again away from his family, missing another important event. In the end, he was forced to leave the company for good by security. He had to literally turn his back on his life's work. Finally, after years of spending too much time at a job that ended up not needing him, Arlen was finally going home. And yet, in some sick twist of fate, it was at this exact moment that the war with China went nuclear. And by the time Arlen returned to his home, there was nothing there but a crater. His family, his home, his career were all gone.
We had an apartment in Cambridge. I went to the office that morning to try to talk to Mark again. When it all happened, I tried to get back, but the city was in chaos. By the time I got home, there was only a crater. I lay down in the ruins. I just wanted to die. Instead, I woke up like this.
In another cruel twist, Arlen was denied the death that he wished for in that moment. Instead, he went to sleep as a broken father and woke up as a ghoul. For 200 years, he lived, knowing that he had robbed himself of his chances to be with his family again and again until they were gone, and that he had robbed his family of being with their husband and father in their final moments. He held on to something that didn't matter for so long that the only thing that did matter was gone by the time he got back.
These years, you never gave up, did you? You're still working too much.
I suppose so. We made toys. We made children happy. That's all that mattered. She was right, you know. I did work too much. And now, I'll never hear her voice again. Never get to hold her. Kiss her goodnight. All I have left are the memories.
If Fallout 4 has ever sought out to say anything meaningful, I can't think of what else it could possibly be besides this. No doubt in response to his grief, he spent the centuries doing what he'd always done, working on the Giddyup Buttercup. One of the hardest hitting things about this quest is that you can very easily miss out on helping him. All it takes is you being willing to help him and passing a few speech checks. And this quest ends with you handing him the parts and walking away.
You're back. Were you able to find those parts?
I've got them right here.
You do? All right. Let me take a look. Yes. Yes. It's all here. It's really all here. You've more than earned your reward. Here. Here. Just like I promised. Now, I need to get back to work. Finally.
Do you hear the excitement in his voice? It must be the only easy thing for him to do. Just lose himself in the work that he does, rather than feel the pain inherent to his life.
Don't feel bad. I barely remember anything from those days. And what I can, I try to forget.
That excitement almost makes doing the right thing here even harder. See, if you can't or won't pass the speech checks, he won't give you his old ID card. And instead of going to the factory to get the parts, you'll have to, on your own mind you, there aren't any quest markers for any of this, go to the headquarters of Wilson Automatoys to get the ID belonging to someone else. In classic Bethesda Fallout fashion, the story that I've shared with you is played out over terminals and holotapes all over the headquarters building. Again, completely missable if you go straight to the factory. Once at the Wilson Automatoys headquarters, you can trace back the entire story. How George handed the CEO position to his son, Mark, how Mark put profits ahead of the Buttercup toys, how Arlen calls him out in front of the board, and how Mark fired him for it. There are more details, of course, a member of the board who felt guilty and made Mark regret his decision to fire Arlen at least a little bit. That same board member who was dating his secretary in another throwback to American culture. But mostly, the notes and holotapes serve as a monument to the fact that Arlen missed out on his family again and again. His daughter would come to his job just to visit him, rather than him being at home. His wife had to give him constant reminders just to be a father. But we all know how that ended up. The ultimate find from this location isn't the ID card, It isn't the thing that helps you get the parts. It's the holotape from Marlene to her father, Arlen. Instead of giving him the parts, you can return with this holotape in hand and give it to Arlen, who hasn't hurt his wife or daughter in over 200 years.
Go ahead. Hi, Daddy. When are you coming home?
Oh, God.
You work too much. I want you to read to me again. Mommy says you're helping all the horsies find good homes. Take care of them, okay? I love you. Oh, Buttercup says she loves you too. We miss you. Come home soon.
We'll teach them again if they come back.
Oh, Marlene. Give me a minute. It's been so long. I never thought I'd hear their voices again. You can't imagine what this means to me.
And it's here, at this moment, with all of us watching, that Arlen realizes his mistake. For the first time, he fully understands that his loss that day, all those years ago, was not his job. It was his family. Of course he was sad when it happened. He accepts that he worked too hard, but he always felt that it was his work on toys that gave his life meaning. If the message here from Bethesda, that there is more to life than your job, that your job does not define who you are, if that doesn't touch you in any way, if the moments like this scattered around the world of Fallout 4 don't convince you that Bethesda's writers do get some things right, however occasionally or accidentally, then maybe Fallout really is a dead brand. But for me, it's worth it to put up with this old game and all of the bad quests and all of the bad writing that come at a rate of 2 to 1, because the good ones just seem to hit right in my American heart. It seems like Bethesda is writing directly to me when Arlen finally says,
All I have left are the memories. And this tape, as one father to another. Thank you.
it takes a company that truly understands their audience to make something so relevant to them. And this quest always makes me feel seen, so that I play it every single time, even though it's entirely skippable and the rewards really aren't all that great. I maintain that at least for an American audience, quests about our culture like this are in the very air of Fallout 4. Yes, Bethesda's writing team needs to do better, and we should, as paying customers, demand that of them. But it is also right that we give them credit for what they do get right. And this is one of those things. After this, Arlen leaves. He wanders the Commonwealth, occasionally returning to the crater that used to be his home. Finding him again proved too hard for me. But his legacy lives on in those that knew him.
You looking for Arlen? He up and left a few days ago. Said he was going to look for more toys to repair. He seemed different, like he'd made his peace with the world. Don't know what you did, but thanks.
Thank you all for watching. I publish a new video on Fallout every week where I try to find the best and worst elements of this game. Don't miss out, subscribe, and be ready for some great comment. And until next time, I'll see you around.